Welcome to the Encinitas Chamber Chat Live podcast. I'm Carol Knight with the Encinitas Chamber of Commerce. With the help from my talented friends at Max Deluxe, we will showcase the many aspects and unique qualities of the Encinitas community. Whether it be focusing on local business owners, advice from experts, or highlighting some of the local gems Encinitas has to offer, we hope you'll find this podcast informational and entertaining. The Encinitas Chamber of Commerce is presenting its first ever Small Business Resource Fair, October 5th from 8:30 to 10:30 at Miracosta College. We are partnering on this event with the North San Diego Small Business Development Center, SBDC, and the Small Business Administration. I'm happy to have with me here today Cheryl Brown, Director of SBDC, to tell us about the organization, its resources for small business, and how you help and support those businesses. So welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. It's an honor to be here and to share all the resources that the San Diego and Imperial Valley SBDC network can offer the small business community. So North San Diego SBDC is a part of a network of 11 service centers that service San Diego and Imperial Valley counties. Now, we also are a nationwide program that has over 1,000 centers throughout the country. So no matter where you go, there's a resource there to help you. Our particular center, the North San Diego SBDC, is hosted by Miracosta College. So they are our host, and they also provide us the resources available, such as the building, administrative support, everything we could possibly need. And we recently moved to the Cardiff area, to our San Leo campus, which is just amazing. It's like a Zen resource, but ultimately we provide no-cost resources to the small business community for people who are looking to start a business, people who are looking to grow their business, or maybe, in this economy, maybe even try and save their business.
Right.
All at no cost. And so we provide these services in three primary ways. One is through our workshops. We have live workshops, in-person workshops, on-demand workshops. Then we also have our special events like the upcoming Small Business Resource Fair. And then really our impact is where our one-on-one advising is. Our one-on-one advising provides that one-on-one assistance for any possible need the small business could have. So if you're a small business and you're struggling with funding or financing, we have funding advisors that can help you at no cost. If you're looking to start a business, you're like, I don't know what I should start. Is this a good idea? We actually just rolled out a new workshop called Now you have a brilliant business idea, what next?
Well, that was going to be my question. Let's say I have this brilliant business idea. I have it, but how do I even begin to find that funding, find those resources? I don't even know what the resources I should be looking for. So can you walk me through that a little bit?
Absolutely. So there are a number of resources available to the small business community, both no cost and then costs. The Small Business Development Center, the SCORES of the world, Apex Accelerators, which used to be called PTAC, Women Business Centers, Veterans Business Outreach Center, all of these resources have no-cost services. So if you're a small business, or you're looking to start a business, and you're like, gosh, how do I get started? Where do I go? First and foremost, do not pull out your checkbook or your credit card.
Okay.
You don't need to do that.
All right.
Go to your local resources. Start with your SBDC. We have a very collaborative approach to supporting the small business community. And so if we don't have the resource available based on the needs, then we'll get you connected with the right resource. But if you have an idea and you're like, I don't know if this is the right idea, or is there a market for this? We have that workshop. It is literally takes you through okay, so you've got this idea, but is it viable?
Right.
Is it sustainable? And we offer it both in English and in Spanish.
Is it in person or
It is
online?
online. Yep.
Okay.
So we offer it twice in English and twice in Spanish. And we have flipped over the time slot. So one time we offer it from 9 to 12, and then another time we offer it from 4 to 8, so that it can accommodate anybody in any situation. In addition, if more assistance is needed, we have a working group where those that attended the workshop can actually join their peers, led by a facilitator, to help expand the idea. So, for example, if you decided, I want to sell ice to Eskimos in Alaska. Well, that might be a great idea, a great concept, but is it sustainable? Is it viable? And if it's not, through the resources and through the steps that we're going to take you through, how do we position that to make it viable? So we're not here to destroy dreams or anything, but we're here to make sure that if you're going to start a small business, let's make sure it's going to be successful.
And that's from soup to nuts. So that's from the idea creation. Is it viable? Does the market need it?
Correct. Yes.
Let's say it's product development, it's marketing, it's finding a brick and mortar storefront if you needed all
of the
that.
above. Yeah. So once we've come to terms where, okay, this is a good idea, this is a concept. So what is next? So then we have our Start Your Business in a Day, which literally takes you through the steps of what is your legal entity? How do you get business licenses? Do you need a fictitious business name? What industry-specific licenses might you need? And it's literally step by step by step. From there, there's some small businesses or some individuals that will take that information and be like, woo, we're going to run for it.
Right, right.
Others need a little bit more hand-holding. Some of these forms can be pretty intimidating if you've never seen them before. Our advisors will walk you through how to fill those forms out. And we will help you as long as you need at no cost.
I'm going to go back to that. At no cost.
At no cost. Now you'll notice we don't say free.
Right.
Because that's the term free is kind of like, well, it can't be that good, right? Like, well, how is this free? Well, our advisors are compensated. We are professional advisors. All of us with the SBDC have owned or currently own our own small business. So we approach our advising from the trenches, like from the real life. Here is the nitty gritty. Here is the roll up your sleeves. Here's the reality. So we are all compensated. We receive our funding from 4 primary funding sources: Small Business Administration, the State of California Office of Small Business Advocacy, it's Ombudsman, another acronym. Another acronym. State of California. We received 2 grants from them. Our host institutions also provide us with funding. So in addition, we get a lot of other financial support, such as here, our program in the North San Diego SBDC has a procurement program. So we receive additional funding from North County Transit District, the City of San Diego, County of San Diego Airport Authority, SANDAG, Caltrans. So all of these entities provide us with the funding because they have a vested interest in the success of the small business community so that we can provide these services at no cost.
Do you only help for-profit businesses, or how about nonprofit businesses? Because I know a lot of those look for grants as well as those other funding resources.
So primarily for-profit small businesses.
Okay.
However, if there's a nonprofit organization that is seeking funding or opportunities with government agencies, we can assist them in that area.
Okay.
So it's very specific because with a nonprofit, there are other nuances that need to be taken into consideration, and that's just not an expertise that we have. Right. But we partner with San Diego Foundation. So if there is somebody that's looking to start a nonprofit, we can connect them with the San Diego Foundation, other resources that's their thing.
Right.
And we have a number of small businesses that have come into us and then branched off and started nonprofits. So, it is full circle. And if we don't have the resource in-house with over 130 advisors speaking 20 different languages, we've partnered with all the other resources here in San Diego County to ensure. Yeah.
Right. Well, I imagine coming out of the pandemic or during the pandemic, everyone had these bright ideas that they wanted to, that's a brilliant idea for a business. So have you seen an increase post-pandemic or of people seeking your services or small business in general?
Absolutely. During the pandemic, we were just inundated working 18, 20-hour days, helping to, ease the panic with the different funding programs, the PPP, the EIDL, all of the other grants. So now that that's kind of settled down a little bit,
right.
We are finding that more and more people are looking to start businesses as opposed to being employees. Students are especially interested in starting their own business as opposed to being an employee of somebody else for a variety of reasons. But one of the reasons we find is that they were laid off during the pandemic and they don't want to have that happen again.
Right.
We can't control, obviously, shutdowns and things of that nature, but people are looking at entrepreneurship as a viable option so they feel more in control of their future and their destiny. Heck, that's what me and my family did.
During the pandemic?
Yeah.
So
We're
tell
crazy.
me.
We're crazy.
So tell me.
Yeah.
You're working.
Yep. I'm full-time SBDC.
Right. And then your family's decided to start something else?
Yes. So I have three boys. And in the beginning of the pandemic, my husband and my 3 older boys were laid off. Mm-hmm. And so we had been talking about starting, buying a franchise for quite some time as a legacy for my sons or for our sons, especially our 2 older ones, because they're not very academically inclined. So we've been talking about it for years. Pandemic hits, they get laid off, and we're like, well, we can tap into our retirement without penalties.
Right.
Maybe now is the time. Well, 3 months later, here we are. We bought a franchise, and in the middle of a pandemic, and now my 3 sons, we've grown a little bit, and now they're in control of their destiny.
So I have to go back though. Did you advise that opening a franchise during a pandemic was a good idea? It just doesn't seem like maybe.
No, it wasn't a good idea as far as a business approach.
Right.
But because we had access to the funds, we could take those. And we knew it was going to take a little time.
Yeah.
To get up and running, and we had to go through training and everything else. My guidance though was, starting a business, wonderful. But here's the first thing: you're not starting
from scratch.
You are going to buy a franchise.
Yeah.
And because I do own another small business consulting firm, which I've owned since 2007, and that kind of just does its own thing at this point. But for my sons, I was like, no, you're not going to start from scratch, and here's why. Mm-hmm. So being able to guide and advise without guiding and advises as a mom, but more as an advisor, I ended up referring them or engaging them with our other advisors. If they hear it, my kids hear it better from somebody else than they do me anyway. So,
well, I didn't know the wealth of resources that you all provide until I started working for the chamber. I mean, I was shocked that you offer all these different languages and really any niche imaginable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I was training with someone who had started a business during the pandemic, and he just couldn't ramp up fast enough and had to close. And it wasn't until, I think he was too far down. I'm like, these resources are here for you. Yeah. I wish, you had known about these in advance. So how do you get that word out that you have these resources for those upstarts or those struggling businesses or just ones that want to do a better job?
Mm-hmm. Well, partnerships with the chambers is definitely one of them. Our funding is very restrictive. We are not permitted to utilize any of our larger funding sources, SBA, State of California, MiraCosta, for anything but client-facing engagement.
No marketing.
No marketing.
Okay.
So that means that the directors of the centers, and we do have a marketing coordinator through our lead center, but they handle more of the higher-end marketing strategy, have to go out to the community and spread the word, mm-hmm. let people know. And unfortunately, what ends up happening a lot of times is small businesses come to us when it's too late.
Too late. Mm.
And so we're trying to let the small business community know, like, hey, you need to come to us now. Even if you don't need anything, come to us now. That way, if does something come up, we can address it. I mean, we provide support in strategic planning. Projections. Projections are a small business owner's boss. If you don't know what your numbers look like or could look like next year or a year after, how do you know how to make these decisions as being a small business? Marketing. This is a huge area of need. There's only one way to generate revenue, and that's through marketing. And I find that the marketing piece is what a lot of small businesses are missing. Digital marketing. What strategies are out there? Especially when you come to a consumer-based product or service, mm-hmm. Pay-per-click. Google Ads. Like, how do you figure that out? And are you going to charge? Are you going to pay a company to do that?
And I'm right with you on that. I'm a marketing communications professional by trade. Had my own company pre-pandemic, and it's marketing or PR is the first thing that people cut because they they just don't, I don't know, in my opinion, they just don't get it. They don't see the importance of it. So it's really easy to cut that marketing budget, that PR spend. And then they think, oh, well, we can do social media and be good. And that's really just a small piece of the puzzle.
Just a small piece. And we look at the whole picture. Because we are not compensated by the small business, because we have contractual obligations to our funding sources, we're providing guidance based on what's best interest for the small business, not what might be in our best interest. And so, looking at digital marketing and strategies, assessing the SEO of the company's website, helping companies create a website, a social media marketing campaign, all the way to, okay, do you have an accounting system? What's the difference between QuickBooks and maybe Wave apps, and what's going to be the best use for you? What about your taxes? How are you going to pay your taxes? All the way to we have specialty centers as well, including technology commercialization. So if you have an innovative idea or an app, and you'd like to see maybe get help with getting a grant to develop the prototype or get connected with, we have 2 specialty centers that help with that, the Brink and Connect. We have a specialty center that helps with import-export, so our World Trade Center. So if you're interested in importing or exporting, we have a specialty center for that. We have a specialty center for those that are in wanting to start a childcare business, food service, cottage food industry. We even have a center called the IRC, the International Rescue Committee, that specializes in assisting migrants.
Oh my gosh.
To be, be successful, to have a business, because a lot of times in those situations, they're not eligible to get a social security number at this time, but they can get an EIN. And instead of paying some company $125, which takes 5 minutes to do, we help them do that at no cost to them. And because of their language barriers, that's why we have the 20 different languages. So, if we don't have the resource in-house, again, we can connect them to the right resource, but we have grown tremendously over the last 5 years to be able to be the one-stop shop for all small businesses, and word of mouth.
Yeah, and I say that we have a couple chamber members, small businesses, language barrier, and they're just struggling a little bit. So I think we've shared your information with them, again, because if that it is truly lost in translation at that point.
It truly is. And when we think about it too, is those individuals that have been in underserved communities have probably been taken advantage of the most. And so we find that our clients that are in those groups tend to be a little bit more, hesitant in getting support because of the past experiences. And so being able to provide them with the support in their language that they're most comfortable with, it helps to build that rapport.
Right. All right, I have to look at a stat here. I have it. Let's see. According to the latest statistics, there are 379,704 small businesses in San Diego County. And these small businesses make up nearly 99.95% of all businesses in the county.
Yes.
That's incredible. So their impact is far and wide.
Absolutely. And even the large businesses that we do have in San Diego County, they have supplier diversity programs in which they want and need to work with small business communities. So in any way we're touching the small businesses, either directly or through the larger corporations. When everybody says, small business is the backbone to the economy, it is true. But also keep in mind that the SBA, give or take a few little industries, considers a small business as a business with less than 500 employees.
Okay.
So to me, with my 3 sons, husband, and my admin assistant, 400.
You're a very small business.
Like they're itty bitty. Majority of the businesses that we work with, though, have less than maybe 5 employees. Okay. A lot of family-owned businesses. We have a handful that do have maybe more than 100, but they started with, maybe themselves. And so, almost, all the businesses here in San Diego are small.
Do you have a stat about businesses that succeed or businesses that fail?
So according to the SBA, a few years ago, I think it's something about like 90% of the small businesses fail within the first 2 years. Now, that number drastically changes with franchising. So that drops to about, I think it's like 40%. Number one reason why a small business fails is lack of capital, because you need money to make money. And a lot of small businesses don't ask for money until they actually need it, which is when the lenders won't actually lend to them.
Right, it's too late at that point.
I mean, I don't get it, but it is what it is.
Right.
So lack of adequate capital. So someone wants to start a business and they say, okay, I need $50,000 to start my business. But they're not taking in consideration that there's going to be maybe 3 to 6 months where revenues are not going to support paying their personal bills. And so they don't take that in consideration, as we call working capital, which is where our funding advisors come into place to say, okay, here's your financial needs for the business, but what about this, this, and this? And how it helps walk them through. Another reason why small businesses tend to fail is adequate lack of planning and forecasting. And not taking a look at those financials, not taking a look at what they mean, what happens when you take out a loan as opposed to a line of credit, what happens if you grow too fast. For our business, our little small business, it's always like, do as I say, not as I do. And here I am, I'm going out, I'm buying another van, I'm buying more equipment, I'm doing this.
Right.
And then our digital marketing crashed. So here we are. I've got 2 vans, all employees. I got to pay, and no money coming in.
So what did you do?
Well, I maxed out my credit cards and tapped into my 401k, which is something I never tell. I tell all my clients never, ever, ever, ever to do.
Right.
But it was the only resources available. It was the only, we had expended ourselves so far. Again, do as I say, not as I do. But now we've ironed things out, and talk to your creditors, talk to your bank. Don't wait till the last minute. So lack of adequate planning, and then finally inadequate marketing. Inadequate marketing is right up there, because like you said before, first thing people want to cut is their marketing budget. Well, that's the last thing you want to cut, because the only way to generate revenues is through marketing. So we're there to try and minimize the failures, and that is why we actually rolled out the new workshop, which is, you have a brilliant business idea, now what? Because we don't not want to start businesses or help people start businesses. We want to make sure that those businesses we start succeed. Yeah. I mean, we can help you start a business like
1,000 times over.
Yeah.
Right?
But if it's not going to be successful, then we don't want to have you walk down that road. And sometimes we have to have those hard conversations that, I'm sorry, but selling ice to Eskimos in Alaska is probably not a sustainable, viable option. So what can we do? How can we position it? How can we pivot? And so we, want to work with our clients to help them. And a lot of times they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Do you also put businesses in touch with businesses that may have like ideas or complementary ideas that maybe together they can build something?
So that is a little bit of a sticky situation for us because of the confidentiality agreements we have in place with our clients per our funding guidelines. We're not permitted to direct introduce.
Okay.
Because that would give unfair advantage. And so what we can do is that we have our events that we encourage people to network. Because I work a lot with the government contracting component, if I have a client that comes in and says, hey, I need XYZ certified small business, can you help me? I will then reach out to our clients and ask them if they'd like an introduction with my disclaimer. It does not infer a recommendation, endorsement,
Right.
or anything, and then we will connect them. But we have to have the approval of both parties in order to do so. However, SCORE can provide mentors.
Can you tell me what SCORE is?
Yes. Retired executives, San Diego, it's not San Diego County, Society of Retired Executives, something along those lines.
Okay.
What they first of all, their website is great.
Okay.
They have a ton of online workshops, a ton of online resources. Their business plan resource is by far the best out there. They have a projections template you can use. It's fantastic. We use it all the time. What makes them a little different is, see, we're advisors. We're not mentors. SCORE provides mentors. So a lot of times what SCORE will do is they will connect a small business with a mentor within that same industry. And because the SCORE advisors are volunteers, they're not as restrictive as we are.
All right.
So they can connect.
They can do that.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And whenever we're providing resources that are outside the no-cost resource partners, we always provide at least 3. I have a lot of clients that'll say, hey, do you have a bookkeeper that you can refer me to? No. I mean, I'd love to be able to refer you to my bookkeeper, and then my bookkeeper kicks me back, $20 for you for one, but that's
Can't do
obvious.
that.
We can't do that. So I always say, okay, here we keep a list of different resources, outside resources that have been referred to us by other small business clients, and then we provide 3.
All right. Well, that's interesting. I'm glad I asked the question because at the chamber, we're always connecting members with members and oh, you should connect with so-and-so because you have complementary businesses or maybe this person can help you. So that's good to know that you can't directly, but you can sort of skirt it to a degree.
Exactly. I mean, and you think about this, the member, when your chamber members sign up, they are agreeing to that type of exposure. When our clients sign up, they are agreeing to the confidentiality because we're dealing.
They probably don't want to share a lot of that information, obviously.
And because we're dealing with financials, we sometimes get a lot of information that doesn't want to be, that wants to be stay strict confidentiality. We can't even say if it's a husband and wife, and the husband owns the business 100%, and it's a corporation, or even as a sole proprietor. If the wife calls us and asks us for support for that business, we can't even do that. We have to get approval from the husband to do so.
I guess it's safeguards that need to be in place.
It's one,
right?
you know what?
Yeah.
Keep it black and white.
Yep.
So that way there's no gray area. But we take it very, very seriously. Again, because sometimes we're dealing with very sensitive information and you just never know. So it's very strict with us.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question that may be a case-by-case basis, but if I come to you, how many people do I end up talking to, basically? Organizations?
Depends on your needs.
Okay.
Really depends on your needs. So when you come into an SBDC for the first time here in San Diego, we're going to do what we call an intake advising appointment. I call this triage. Okay, we're going to find out, okay, what are your needs? What's pressing, make sure that everything in our system is accurate and correct. And then we're going to connect you with the advisor or the trainings or resources that are going to be a best fit for you. So we even go as much as maybe, obviously language barriers if there are any, but also even maybe looking at personalities. Like this would be a good fit for this advisor because they're more patient, or we do take a holistic approach to advising. It's not just, I'm helping you in accounting. We become involved in all aspects of their business. So we streamline.
As we say, it takes a village.
Yes,
right?
yes. So depending on what their needs are, they could end up talking to 5, 6, 7, 8 advisors.
Okay.
More the merrier.
And is there a time frame, and again, a case-by-case basis of, okay, I have this idea to fruition?
Yeah, so we manage the case, through, and then forever. We'll work as long as the client, the small business, is doing their part. We'll work with them indefinitely at no cost. I have clients that I've been working with since 2007.
And they just keep coming or refreshing or re-engaging just to make sure they're doing best practices, I imagine.
Exactly. There's needs come up, things come up. And so I've had a handful of clients where I've helped them start their business, then help them grow their sales, and then get into government contracting. And now they're starting to move to the point where they're becoming a prime contractor and a larger business. Now, at the point where they become a large business, now they transition to being on the other end of our support services, and that is helping the larger businesses meet their diversity goals.
Got it. Okay. So tell me a little bit about the government contractors. Contracting.
So government contracting, and this is my fun part space. So San Diego has the second largest government spend in the country, just second to DC.
San Diego does.
San Diego. There are over 2,000 agencies represented in San Diego County alone. And so we, in collaboration with Apex Accelerators, which used to be called PTAC, have developed a program designed specifically for small businesses that want to look into doing business with the various government agencies, federal, state, local, multi-state.
Examples are?
Well, from the very minuscule city of Encinitas, Encinitas Unified School District. Those are considered small agencies. Then we get into the medium-sized agencies, North County Transit District, SANDAG, Caltrans, County of San Diego. Then we get into the larger agencies, State of California, Department of Defense, Department of the Navy, NAVWAR, NAVC. I mean, and that's all
runs the gamut there.
Yep, across. And so we help them from start to say, okay, you want to work with the government. Okay, what is it? Your product? What's your product? What's your service? What infrastructure needs might there need to be? Does the government even buy your product or service? And chances are they do. But if it's minuscule, then we're going to guide a little bit more specifically. So, for example, several years ago, I had a client come into me, and he's a goat herder out at Valley Center. I'm like, okay, well, let's see what we can do, right?
Clear the brush.
Yeah. Guess what? He is now the primary goat herder for CAL FIRE and Caltrans. He went from having one like little herd, I think it's called, I don't know, herd of goats.
Herd.
Yeah, to having like 8 herds of goats, and he is just love it. He bought more land. Now that's the type of company I want to start. Hang out with the goats all day.
I have 3 goats, and they need to earn their keep. So I may have
what?
to get a bigger herd.
Maybe a bigger herd. But so we take a look and we assess, what is your product or service? Who's going to be your buyer? And then we help walk you through getting registered, getting certified if need be, help you with the financing, and, strategy.
Well, yeah, because I imagine I got a herd of goats here. Can I put them to work? Is not your business plan.
Right. And not something that I was like, oh, goats. Another one that another client I had, she manufactures cosmetics. Now, the government does buy cosmetics, believe it or not. State of California buys cosmetics for their prison to work programs, and the County of San Diego as well. But she wanted to sell to the military. I'm like, I don't know about this one. Well, she designed a lipstick in camouflage colors that provided sunscreen, non-clog pouring, like all of these different things.
Right.
She sells hundreds of thousands of dollars every year to the School of Infantry.
Fascinating.
Now, so that's where
I was going to say no idea is a bad idea, which in some of these cases, I mean, who would have thunk?
Well, exactly. And that's kind of a role that we take, too, as advisors, to be like, okay, so you sell lipstick, and you want to sell this to the military. All right, well, let's take a look. Let's see, rather, in my mind, I'm going, this isn't going anywhere. But you know what? Hey, let's take a look.
Yeah.
Who knows? I have found in my gazillion years of doing this now that there's really only one thing the government does not buy, and that is SEO services. They don't have to. .govs are number one in SEO. So everything else, beans to bullets, oh yeah, they buy. It's amazing.
Well, there's a nice little nugget right there for anyone who's looking to start a business. Go after that government contract.
Oh, absolutely. And those that pursue government contracting as part of their business, whether it be even just 1%, when, not if, there's an economic downturn, the government's always buying.
Right.
And so...
But that process must be much longer than some other processes to work with the government?
Well, yeah. If it wasn't, everybody'd be doing it. But, I mean, I've had clients that have received their first government contract within 6 weeks of working with us. Some of them take a lot longer. It depends on the agency. It depends on the type of product or service. And really, it depends on the dedication of the small business owner to do the steps. It's a process.
Right.
But if you think about the pandemic, all of my clients that had been pursuing government contracting prior to the pandemic were able to maintain their business. At least they would be able to pay their bills and keep their employees, where a lot of our small businesses had to close their doors.
Right.
And so we started this program in 2007, which is when the housing market was crashing. And so every time that we've had some sort of environmental or economic condition that impacts the small business community's ability to be successful, it's the government sector that's been able to kind of maintain. So it just makes sense, especially in San Diego County, that small businesses at least can consider the government process.
Right.
And we help it to make it as easy as possible.
So those businesses that closed in during the pandemic. Do any of those resurrect?
They do. Many of them ended up retiring. Said, you know what, I'm done.
Good time to do it.
I just don't want to do this anymore. Some of them did resurrect. We don't have percentages as of yet, but it was a sad time for a lot of our small businesses to face that.
Yeah, I imagine. And I mean, we see it here in Encinitas, of course, those ones that had to shut or, have gone a year past. We just had one on El Camino Real that has struggled, opened right during the pandemic, and they just shut their doors last week. So it's just so difficult. It's so hard, and you feel for them. And who knows whether they knew they even had these great resources.
That's a key note there is get the support you need, even if you don't think you need it. Because it's there, and our goal is to maintain that success and help you where we can uncover areas that you may not have even seen, especially when we're looking at projections. If you're continuing to do business this way, this is what it looks like a year from now. How does a small business read their financials? Most small businesses don't know how. They just know that money's coming in, money's going out, and they're paying their bills. But what does it look like in the long term? And our advisors are there to say, okay, hey, this is what it looks like. Let's make some decisions. Let's help you make decisions. Right. So it's not you're doing everything wrong or right. It's more like, okay, what can we do to ensure and sustain this business? What happens if in 6 months you buy another van? What does that look like? What are you going to need to do to maintain the payments in your book of business? So assessing your marketing spend. If you're spending X amount of dollars on marketing, what is your ROI? What is your return on investment? How do you get that information? Most small businesses don't have the time, the resources, or the patience, or the understanding as to how to do that. Right. And they're not expected to. That's why we have advisors that will help them to look at that and say, wait a minute, I'm spending $1,000 on pay-per-click Google ads, and I'm only getting $300 in return. I need to save that $1,000 and find out where is it going to work. Right. And that's, part of it is assessing what's going on and how can we make it better.
Right. I know I was a business major that we had to come up with case studies starting a business. Well, I think I would highly add and tell every professor to say, make sure you go see your SBDC or SBA and figure out what resources they have for you before you even start this process.
We work with our MiraCosta business department quite closely, very, very closely in helping them with their business plans and those that really business students have one of two reasons for taking the business class. Either they do want to look at pursuing opportunities within the business world or being a business owner, or they're checking a box. Either way, they still have to do a business plan to pass the class, so we help them with that.
All right, so tell us a little bit about your relationship with MiraCosta. How did you end up there?
So our program has a lead center, which is hosted by Southwestern College, and a contract is issued by the SBA to an institution of higher education. Our particular lead center contract is with Southwestern College. And then these entities apply to be subrecipients. So, 20-something years ago, MiraCosta applied to be a subrecipient for the Small Business Development Center program and was awarded. And ever since then, we've held the contract.
It's such a perfect fit.
It really
partnership,
is.
talking about partnerships, it just makes perfect sense.
Well, in MiraCosta College, the goal is to prepare students in the community for workforce. Well, now workforce includes entrepreneurship. And so, that synergy is really very, very well received. And we're working with a lot of the different departments, for, again, internship programs, our business department. The TCI, Technology Career Center, just issued a new program. They received a huge grant to start skills training. So, for example, HVAC. Well, a lot of those HVAC students may want to start their own HVAC company. So instead of going outside of the home of MiraCosta College, they can come right to us and we can help them.
I love it. That's great. And even as continuing ed, I know they offer so many programs, and then just be able to have them talk about it and know that resource is there.
There's so many resources within MiraCosta College. I'm just starting. I've been with the program for 15 plus years, and I'm like, really? We have this? So,
And right in our backyard.
right in our backyard, yeah. So, I mean, there's definitely a lot of resources that we're continuing to infiltrate. And at the Small Business Resource Fair, there's going to be a few of the departments from MiraCosta College that will be exhibiting as well. So we have a program called Uprise that works with undocumented immigrants and helping them to get, their visas and all that. So we're going to have them there. We're also going to have our business department, obviously, as well as our food services program as well. So
let's talk a little bit about the fair. I know, so in addition to those, I know I actually spoke with the sheriff last week, and I had no idea, but there's a department that's crime prevention through environmental design that's going to be on hand. And I never would have thought about that as far as how my layout is, the bushes and things like that. If actually the captain had spoke at an event a couple of weeks ago and I was exposed to it, but I never would have given it any thought.
You would be surprised. We reached out to about 300 of our partners, everyone from lending institutions to other resource partners like the SBDC, to the government agencies, prime contractors, large corporations, and other community groups, and said, hey, we want you to be part of this. So for the fair, you can plan on meeting advisors from the SBDC, SCORE, VBOC, Women's Business Center, our World Trade Center, the IRC. You're going to be able to meet a number of government agencies. The state of California is coming down from Sacramento to exhibit. We'll also have the North County Transit District, the County of San Diego, the City of San Diego Port Authority, Airport Authority. We're going to have prime contractors such as Swinnerton Buildings, Clark Construction, Turner Construction. We are going to have SDG&E will be there to present about their resources and what they have for small businesses and how to reduce their cost. So we have over close to 50 exhibitors that will be there just to answer questions.
That's fantastic. And it's not just for businesses and folks in Encinitas. It's North County, San Diego, come one, come all. I mean, we really encourage everyone to come out for it. I think it's going to be a fantastic morning. I'm actually looking forward. We'll be there as a chamber, but just to go and meet everyone and really see what's out there, so we better as a chamber can speak to it.
Oh, absolutely. And our San Leo campus is just so welcoming. I mean, we're excited to be able to showcase the campus and see our little gem with all the resources. And we just recently moved there. We moved in about a month ago from our Carlsbad location. And so we call it the Zen campus.
Yeah.
I go there and I have lunch.
Oh,
we have a cafe.
It is beautiful. We actually have just launched our Rising Star program there, where we recognize seniors from the San Diego Union High School District every month, ones that have overcome some sort of challenge, whether it's cultural, language, home, life, school challenge. And a lot of them are inventors, entrepreneurs, really go-getters. So it makes perfect sense to have it at MiraCosta and expose them to that campus. And we have a ribbon cutting coming up for you as well in advance of the resource fair.
Very exciting. Yes, so we'll be having some light refreshments and coffee. We're going to open our doors at 8 a.m. for anyone who wants to take a look at our new building. And then I believe the ribbon cutting will start about 8:15. We'll take our photos, and then everybody will get to enjoy the resource fair.
Yeah, I think everyone's excited. We have the dignitaries coming out, and they're just really appreciative and being able to recognize you guys and what you do. And again, I encourage everyone to come out to the Small Business Resource Fair October 5th. And anything else you want to add, Cheryl, while you're here?
I just would like to thank you, thank the chamber, thank the community, thank MiraCosta College, our funding sources, for really giving me the opportunity to do this job. I mean, I love what I do.
Well, it's really hard to tell that you love what you're doing.
We're here to help. And we are mission focused. My personal mission statement is I help small businesses create a better life for their families and the families they employ. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so if you have it, if you're thinking about starting a business, you're not quite sure, or you have a business and would like help, please reach out to us. We're here to help. We're here to support. We're here to just, do whatever we can to make you successful.
We appreciate everything you do for the community, for those businesses. You're a really important component. So thank you. And thank you for sharing your time today.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to our sponsor, Max Lux. Join us again for the next episode of Encinitas Chamber Chat Live. For more information on the Chamber and its activities, please visit encinitaschamber.com.